Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup, where we're now well beyond the Bay Area. We are meeting once or twice a week on Zoom, and we have a global audience in front of us today. I'm so happy to have Cathy McPhillips with us. Cathy's from Content Marketing Institute and runs some, or helps to run some of the biggest and best marketing conferences on the planet. So Cathy's going to talk to us today about how the team is communicating change. Take it away, Cathy.
Well, thank you. It's really exciting to be here. I don't ever get to see Rich. I haven't seen Rich in a number of years, so it's nice to, well, in person at least, it's nice to see your face, and it's nice to see some familiar faces here. So this presentation, I was working on it, and every day has been different for us. We're changing our ideas on what we can charge for our events, or if our events are going to be in person or virtual or a hybrid. So I just wanted to kind of get you through our thought process, because maybe it'll help you if you have a big event, a small event, or anything that you're looking at running. So I'm just going to share my screen. Does that work for everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Your title slide.
So
yeah.
That's it. Just kind of communicating change events in 2020. And as everyone knows, our worlds have just kind of have changed. And this spring has put all of our businesses in a little bit of a tailspin, including ours. So we are owned by Informa. We are in the Informa Connect group of Informa, and 80% of our company is events. So it's been really interesting going through this over the past, I don't know how to do Zoom and, oh, here we go. Okay, so just to go back a little bit, if you're not familiar with Content Marketing Institute, just real quick, we have two main in-person events. We have Content Marketing World, which is held every fall in Cleveland, Ohio, and Content Tech Summit, which is usually held in the spring on the West Coast. It's been in Las Vegas, and last year it was in San Diego, and this year it was supposed to be in San Diego. And then we've got some virtual events. We have 3 webinars a month, and these were two of our bigger virtual summits. Our Demand Gen Summit just happened a few weeks ago. And in the fall, we're planning a social media strategy day. And then aside from our events, we have our daily blog posts on contentmarketinginstitute.com. We've got Chief Content Officer Magazine, which is published 3 times a year. We've got our Content Marketing Awards, which are open through next Friday if you're interested in submitting an entry. And then our Content Marketing University platform, which is online training and education run by Robert Rose, if any of you know Robert. So that's just a quick snapshot of what CMI is. And I've been with CMI since 2012. So I missed the first year's event, but I've been to the others, and it's an awesome event. 4,000 people come in from 75 countries, and it's it's awesome. So this was what my life looked like in January. Super exciting. We had our events all laid out. Like I said, April in San Diego was supposed to be Content Tech, and then Content Marketing World in October in Cleveland. Registration was open. We were talking to people. We were planning our agendas, and here's what it was supposed to look like. So what we were planning, we were aligning the city of Cleveland in orange. We had pole banners. We had taxi cab tops that were orange. We had the convention center all lined up, and the city gets so excited because we generate about $3 million in revenue. We bring that to the city, or all of our attendees bring that to the city, which is really exciting. And we have these sessions. We have over 100 breakout sessions covering every discipline of content marketing. And this is not a sales pitch, I swear. I'll get to all this in a second. So we just breeze through these really quick. But we have keynotes. We have these breakout sessions. We have everyone being together. And I think that's the thing that, we have our expo hall with 80 booths, where if you're in the market for technology, it's a great place to be, as are many other events where you can say, okay, I'm in the market for a dam system, and I don't know what to do. And oh, look, there are 4 of them in this one place. So I can spend my time at the event going to each of these booths, talking to the folks, getting a demo. It just saves hours and hours of webinars and more Zooms and things that we can do face-to-face. It making that personal connection with somebody. And there's so much fun at the event. This was at the Rock Hall. We have our opening party usually at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it's an exciting thing for people that aren't from Cleveland to see and to experience and just spend some time with one another. And then we have speakers, and it's so nice to see people close to one another. I don't know if this makes anyone cringe right now, seeing people touching, but that was just a big part of our event, is just the community and the network that we've built. And this is in the Rock Hall. And there's our friends, our friends are just having fun. And, Sydney, just seeing each other, and, they live in the same state, but how often do they see each other? And it's just nice to spend some time together. So at our event, what do our attendees expect? Education, practical, actionable. And one of the things we do differently at our event is we make sure that a lot of our speakers are practitioners. So they're giving sessions on, here's exactly what my problem was with our product or our service, what technology we used, what content marketing we used, and here was our result. So someone in that session can leave there and say, okay, I actually could go back to my desk next Monday and start doing this for my own company. And that's one thing, that of differentiation between us and some other events, or we like to think that's the case. And like I said, tech solutions all in one place, networking, seeing the community we've built over the 361 days that we aren't together in Cleveland, and then fun. We all know that, especially right now, we're sitting behind our desks for hours and hours and hours, and just getting a chance to unwind a little bit, spend some time talking to people. It's necessary. And there's the best laid plans. And then everything happened. So here's what we're up against right now. And I'm sure many of you on this are experiencing this yourselves, but we have budget cuts that our community is dealing with, travel bans, and just fear. And that's a real and legitimate thing that we need to work on. And how can we make our customers and our attendees and our community feel that we're looking out for them, that it's in their best interest. So, and here's what it looks like today. We've changed our Content Tech event to a virtual event. I mean, it went from April in person to August in person, and now it's August and it's 100% virtual. And then Content Marketing World, it's still on in person as of today. We are doing a robust hybrid experience, which is going to be new for us. And so we're trying to figure out, how do you make a robust virtual experience with the Content Marketing World experience people expect in person. So we're just trying to figure all that out right now. So literally every single day we're having a meeting saying, okay, let's look at what's happening in the world today and how quickly do we need to move. I was on a call for 3 hours today before this, looking at pricing, looking at technology, and it's really hard. So if you're going through this right now with anything you're doing, it is a real thing, and I completely empathize with you. So, and here's a picture of our team. Like, how can we take what we do in person and what we do very well, I think, well, I think I should, because, if I didn't think that, I shouldn't be working there. But how do we replicate that? How can we get something as close to our in-person experience online? So the first thing we did was we started contacting, I know a lot of those photos were from Content Marketing World, but let's talk about Content Tech, since I know right now that is virtual. So we contacted our speakers and said, would you speak at our virtual event if we moved it virtual? Can you speak at a virtual event? Some of them are so amazing on stage, but do they need the crowd? Do they need the laughing, the back and forth from the audience? Can you do this? And then we contacted our sponsors and said, is this product, this new product we're presenting to you, something that are you good with this? We can still give you the leads, but do you need the in-person experience? And is this something you could trust us on? And can we offer that same level of expertise and talent in this virtual environment? And then we started talking to some attendees. We called probably about 50 of our attendees that we know really well, that have come to events in the past, whether they were coming one time or some that have come 9 times, and said, would you still attend? Do you still see value in what CMI has to offer from a virtual standpoint? And can we count on you to be there? Because we just kind of needed to know that a little bit. And then once that decision was made, we needed to explain to them what we were going to give them, so we could keep that money, because a lot of events that are happening right now, their event is kind of like a sale, whether it's, I don't want to use any names, but if it's a technology vendor, a lot of their events, it's an expense for them because they know they're generating customers from it. For us, it's actually how we make our money. It's how we run our business. That's the core of our revenue. So we needed to figure out ways that we needed to to keep that money that has already been spent, and not having people say we want a refund instead. So we wanted to make sure there were comparable offerings. So in person, we wanted to translate that and say, well, we're going to give you the virtual pass. And if someone spent, say, $1,000 on their in-person pass, but the virtual pass we're only charging $500, we said, hey, bring a colleague. Let's make sure we get you to that equitable value of what you spent. And we have this whole laundry list of, if they said no to that, we have other programs. Do you want a virtual pass then for Content Marketing World? How can we keep that revenue within CMI? So, and if worse comes to worse and someone says, nope, I want a refund, we do it, but we have a few, without being completely overly annoying, we have a few things we try to do first. And then worse comes to worse, we can roll it over into next year, which a few people have done and just said, I don't really love a virtual experience, and I'm just not really, I don't want to do that. So can I save it for next year? And we say yes. And then between Content Marketing World, Content Tech, our university program, things like that, we could also just bank that money for them, and they can roll it into something later. Which actually I talked to one woman who's in Toledo, and she said, she's like, I don't want a refund, because if I get a refund now, I may not get that money next year. So if there's a way that you can just kind of bank that money for me because I already spent it and I already got reimbursed for it, then I will use it at the next chance I can, which I thought was really cool. So that's been a great approach for us, just to save some money and keep the money in our pockets. And then identify what's different about us. What are some things, what makes our event a good one in an online experience? So we've spent a lot of time looking at technology, making sure it's dependable, making sure it's accessible for any of our attendees that want to be there, and making sure it's a good UX. I mean, there are some we're looking at where the technology is amazing, but it's clunky. Or it's dependable and accessible, but there's no way for our community to chat with each other. So things like that we look into to make sure that there are, sorry, I'm wondering if I see a chat and I'm not sure if I should be reading something. So Dennis, just give me a wave if I need to go back to that.
Okay.
And then programming, like I said, finding speakers who know and understand speaking in a virtual environment. We've actually talked to one of our speakers who is a professional speaker on the speaking circuit and said, what can you do as a service to our speakers on our speaker lineup, and saying, here's some things, here's how virtual speaking is different. And here are some very easy things, time consuming maybe, but here are some things you could do to take your on-stage presentation and make it into a virtual presentation that's going to knock people's socks off. So we're trying to make sure that we are setting up our speakers who have amazing content we're trying to set them up for success, because they don't want to go up there and succeed in a virtual environment. So anything we can do to help them, I think, is great. And then networking. Every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, there are 3 of us on our team: JK, who runs our creative, Amanda, who runs our PR, and then Mo Wagner, who many of you might know who runs our social. Every Thursday morning, we sit down and we're like, all right, what have you watched this week? Who have you seen doing some fun things? So we're talking about what can we do in the evenings or at 5 o'clock, right when the breakout sessions end, that are different than a Zoom happy hour. If we'd have done that 2 months ago, that would have been super fun, but now we're all sick of Zoom happy hours. So can we do trivia contests? Or we talked about doing a virtual dog walk, or how can people meet our team? Or even what content we already have from our previous events that people have loved that we could repurpose, because we have a ton of content. And what better way to get some things out there than to resurface something that we know performed well. So, and then we're looking at Zoom rooms where you can break out into different birds of a feather type interests. So, and then thinking about, if we're online all day, do people even want to be networking at night? So maybe we do the break networking in 10-minute chunks throughout the day, just to give people a little break from learning, but giving them some time to communicate with one another. So the hardest part of all this is, okay, we get the technology, great. We have our speakers who know what they're doing, great. We set up some networking opportunities, but how do we take all that and send it out to our community, saying, here's some changes that we're making, and here's why this is such a great thing that you should be attending. So we just, instead of just saying we're using this platform, here's the date, here's why you should be there, we want to make sure that we're hitting on some real important pain points of our customers. what value will this event add to their life? What issues are they working on right now with their jobs that over the next 12 months that they want to say, okay, I need a session on this. So we're doing a lot of customer interviews saying, what are you working on? What has COVID-19, what has it done to your content marketing plan? Is there something specific that we can help you with? So we're taking our normal process of setting up our agenda and trying to insert some things that our speakers really need, or that our attendees really need, and going to speakers and saying, we know you wanted to cover this, but can you cover this instead? Because our customers really are needing that right now. Why is this an event they can't miss? Why should they pay a cost? Because a lot of events are free, which is challenging because I know a lot of events right now are rolling over to the fourth quarter. So we're going to be up against more than just the time of the year, but we're going up against some events that were supposed to happen in the spring that didn't. And then who else is going to be there? One of the best things about our event is our community. So if we said that Dennis is coming and Jeremy's coming and all these folks are coming, and someone said, oh my gosh, they're all going to be there online, I can see all these people at the same time, I need to be there too. And then tell them everything. One of the things I think that CMI is really good at is, you know what we're thinking, you know everything that's going on. You know, if I sent an email saying we're thinking about doing this and I'd love your feedback, we'll get feedback. So just to hear that from attendees and know that we really do value what they're thinking and what they want and what they need, I think is really helpful. And I think people appreciate knowing that their input is taken into account. Whether we can always execute it or not is one thing, but we certainly will try to make sure that we meet everyone's needs when we can. So from a communication standpoint, what we did when we decided for Content Tech to go all virtual, so we emailed the folks that were already registered and went through and said, here's the dates aren't changing, but the format of it is changing obviously to virtual. And here's some things you need to do, or actually they didn't need to do anything, we rolled everything over. But if you want to bring an attendee with you, a colleague with you, here's a promo code you could use. We sent an email to people in our database and said, if you didn't plan it, if you hadn't registered yet, well, we know they hadn't registered, here's why this might be really good for you right now, because you don't need to travel. We went through all those pain points as far as people not wanting to travel just yet. We reached out to some of our international audience that haven't had the means to come to the United States and saying, here's a great way for you to experience a CMI event. So we did segment out our emails trying to figure out what those pain points were from the different groups and had our messaging specific around our new virtual event. And then we checked the opens and the clicks, especially from our attendees that already paid, just to say to them, we just want to make sure you see this because we don't want you to book your plane ticket to San Diego because we're not going to be there. So, and then changing up the messaging every time it goes out. And whether we talk about the speakers at one point versus the technology at one point versus all these different things, finding the right thing that would appeal to a particular customer, and then repeat. And we just, we have a few every other week we're sending out an email about our events, suppressing everyone that has attended, just making sure that constant communication is going out, new updates on who's speaking, new updates on the technology we're using, just so people might have some comfort level in knowing they like a particular system and speakers won't get frozen, they won't be able to, that they will be able to access it. And we looked at one technology a few weeks ago and we said, could you handle 4,000 people if we did need that for Cleveland or for Content Marketing World in the fall? And they said, we could have 100,000 users at one time and not drop anybody. I'm like, well, I would love to have 100,000 people, but we'll take the 4,000. So just making sure that, that's the most important thing, is making sure that people are getting a good experience. So communicating that through our emails, which is our best way to reach our customers, is one way we're making sure the word gets out. And then social, we've got a pretty robust community on social media. So through just text posts on any of the channels, through images, JK, our creative director, makes these splashy images that, just gets in your face so people know that, it's virtual now, so make sure that you see that. So that's out there. We have our LinkedIn group. We've got a great Slack group that Jeremy's a big part of. We've got some Facebook communities, our events that we scheduled on Facebook. And then we've got a Twitter chat every Tuesday, so that's always mentioned. And then we've got a book club. So we've got a lot of different ways to reach people in our community in various ways, in ways that they like to digest our content or work with our community or engage with our community. And then check the events created. This happened actually last week. I went into Content Tech to see who on our team had actually in the Facebook event had committed to coming to the event, just so it popped up in people's news feeds. And we still had San Diego in there. So learn from my lesson, learn from my mistake, go back in there. And as soon as you know things are changing, go back in and make sure that every place you blasted your message before that you've updated. And then engage, just don't blast, which I think everyone on this probably knows that already, but just jumping into conversations, don't just push out all the time and say, we're virtual, come spend your money, come register, but jump into conversations. If we're talking about a certain topic, say, hey, Tim Hayden's gonna speak on that at Content Tech. You should, if you want a promo code or if you want more information, let me know. And then our website, like I said, we put our message everywhere. So places that we had to double check and triple check to make sure that we had all the right information was on our homepage. We have an FAQ section on our event website, our blog post CTAs. We had 35 blog posts. We had to change the CTA that said, come to San Diego. So we had to change 35 of those to the new virtual event. We had banner ads we had to update. We had homepage banner ads we had to update. So just making sure that there's that library of all the assets you have out there, making sure that things are updated. And then any earned media. I talked to Amanda Subler, who runs our PR and media, and she said, let's find a way, let's find something so we can send out a new press release. What's newsworthy, who's speaking, what are some changes that we've made that it's worth it for us to send a press release out and include that there's a virtual component to it now. We talked to the local media here in Cleveland and explained why we were doing what we were doing. And we were honest, we were like, one, it's a big, if we did try to attempt an in-person event and it wasn't successful, because who knows what will happen in August, we're gonna lose a lot of money. We know that people we've talked to just aren't ready to be traveling. So I think everyone really understands that right now. So I don't think that was too big of a stretch of us, being very forthcoming and honest in that. And then we work with some media partners, local AMAs, local meetup groups, and things like that, where we want to make sure that they're sending out the right message to their communities and their members, just making sure that they're sending out everything correctly. And that so we usually write emails and say, here's an email that you can share with your community, change it up however you want, but here's the facts. So we needed to make sure to get out again and just say, just so you know, things have changed. And then word of mouth. We have a great network of folks who are always advocating for us, so just making sure that they are updated with the new news and that they're getting everything out properly. And then our community, our speakers, our sponsors, our team. We have some great brand champions, and then our attendees. We're leaning on them to help us make sure that we're spreading the word far and wide on all of these changes. And then, we talk about, we can't wait to see you again. But first we need to meet in digitally, because we're just not ready to meet in person yet, but gosh, we can't wait to all be together again. So that was really fast. That was, I guess that was pretty good. So that's kind of the things that we're going through right now as far as what CMI is doing. So I wanted to know if anyone has any questions on what we're doing, if I can expand on anything. Or if anyone has anything they're doing differently that we maybe could learn from you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Cathy.
Thank you, Cathy. I had a quick question in terms of how frequently you're meeting as a team to discuss. I imagine there's some fluidity, some flexibility, because you kind of have to crystal ball where things might or might not be 4 months out in October. Can you tell me a little bit about those discussions? Is it sort of agile event marketing, right?
So we have some scheduled calls. We have our leadership team speaks every Friday afternoon. I talk to our marketing team every Monday morning. So we do have set times, but it's been very, very fluid as far as, okay, if we can move marketing to Tuesday instead, because I'm talking to Stephanie Monday morning, and I need to get our pricing structure set up first before I can even talk about the marketing. So let's not waste an hour of everyone's time. Right. And it's just, I have to tell you that, we use Microsoft Teams for our internal communication, and we're blowing it up. Stephanie's like, you jump on the phone right now. And Stephanie's my boss. She's our general manager. And so while it's structured in the sense that we do have some meetings scheduled throughout the week, a lot of it is just can I talk to you for a second? Because I just read a report on, I just read Chris Penn's pandemic or lunchtime reading on what's happening in the world. And we might want to reconsider what we're doing. So I wish I had this really professional, awesome answer I could give all of you on what you could be doing, but we're kind of learning as we're going along.
Yeah, it depends. Right?
It depends.
Thanks. And it looks like there's a question from Dan in the chat.
Yeah, do you want me to read you the question, Kathy? Or Dan, do you want to speak it, or should? Okay. So the first one from Dan.
Yeah, if you could read it, that would be great.
Okay. Dan's referring to when you
Oh,
referring to updating things when about the in-person event to update it. And Dan asked, does that include social media posts, or do you consider that point-in-time assets?
So particularly like Twitter, which you can't edit, did you delete tweets, or do you just leave them there and figure that's point in time and people will figure it out?
We didn't delete any social media except some images of speakers, because some of our speakers just said they weren't comfortable doing a virtual event. Mo might have changed some of our social posts if they were recent enough that it was within a week or two of us announcing the change to virtual. But as far as just general tweets, we didn't delete anything. We just figured the people, that was a few months ago, people would understand that. But we did have a series of posters that we do for our event, just from a marketing standpoint, that had the date, our speakers, and it was about the tracks they were speaking in. And those just weren't relevant, and those get a lot of attention. So we did delete those and post some new ones.
Thanks.
And Dan, you had a second question.
Yeah.
You want to ask that now?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering about the different messaging that you used between previous attendees versus people who have engaged with CMI or downloaded papers, whatnot, but have never attended, never paid money.
Right.
How different was the messaging between those two audiences?
So there were three messages. There were one of the people that had already paid, that we were saying, here's what we're doing and here's why you're going to love it still. People, our alumni that had come in previous years, it was, here's what we're doing again. And here's, it's changing, but it's not. We're doing our best to keep it as similar as we can from an education standpoint. We're still bringing everyone together from a networking standpoint. And for the third group, which is the people in our database who, like you said, have done webinars, subscribe to the emails, do any number of things, but haven't come to a paid event. It's come experience CMI in a CMI event for the first time at a lower price point. And then if you love it, you can come. We'd love to see you in 2021 in person. So we really tried to avoid the world is, the sky is falling. We have to change that. It was very much so, this is an opportunity for us to really bring a larger group together and have people in a different environment learn some new things. So nothing started with, we hope you're doing well. Nothing started with anything related. Unprecedented is not in our vocabulary at CMI. We don't want to use anything like that or make anyone feel like, we all feel sad. We don't need anyone to feel worse. So we're just trying to find a little bit of positivity, a little bit of, let's be together. Let's see what we can do.
Cool. Well, that's good information. Thank you.
And Rich, I see your comment. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, I'm conscious of not taking too much space. Other people can talk. But Kathy, one question and suggestion. Have you looked at Suitable Technologies Beam? Have you seen these beams? The idea is we offered this at Open World about 6-7 years ago and at VMworld 3 years ago. You as a remote attendee can log in and drive a virtual beam around the conference room floor. The link to my tweet is a bunch of tweets about that, but
okay.
It could be an interesting hybrid experience for me. I don't know that I'm able to go to Cleveland, but I might pay to log into a beam and drive around virtually.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out the technology. And first of all, hi, Lori. I'm so excited to see you. It's one of my college friends.
Oh, wow.
What was I going to say? Oh, so the technology that we're using most likely is a partner that we've already have an established relationship with. So one, they're awesome. Two, we already invested money with them. Right. Because they were going to do our post-show video anyways. So we were a little bit pigeonholed in that regard where we don't want to lose money. So I think, we're pretty much going with them.
Cool.
But pigeonholed is not a bad thing because they're awesome. But there are some limitations that we're just trying to figure out. If we can't do chatting within the platform itself, could we have our Slack channel? Could we set up Slack channels of the tracks within our Slack group and then send people over there? So could speakers go over to Slack? I mean, we're just trying to figure out a good user experience without people having to toggle between a bunch of different screens. But to get back to your question, I'd have to look to see what the capabilities are, but that's pretty cool. I'll read that thread to see if anything pops up of interest.
Cool. Yeah.
And they're trying to learn.
Tell you more about it.
They're trying to learn with us. You know, they're like, okay, what do you want as an event? So we're pushing them a little bit, maybe not for August, but maybe for October, that if they have, 4 months to try to roll something else out and let us be their guinea pigs, I'd be great with that.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
And Kathy, James is asking about future events, like because some of this year's have been pushed out a bit. Does that push out future events, maybe like for next year?
So no. So Content Marketing World is already scheduled for September 2021. And since we're doing it, a hybrid event in October, next year's, that's still our 12-ish months away. So that's going to stay. As far as Content Tech going from April to August, and then we're doing it again in the spring, maybe. We just have to keep watching what's happening with the world. So our intention right now is to have it again in the spring, in person. And then we just are hoping that where everyone's in a better place that we could actually do that. But we'll just adapt, we'll just pivot if we need to. Yeah, so Lori, we really want to try to do CMI in person, but it just every day is different. We wake up in the morning, we're like, it's a beautiful day, we're doing it, and the next day I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way we could do it.
You're probably in the same situation as a lot of schools and universities, like how do you decide when, and like it's a lot of people, but it does sound like you have a plan for some kind of hybrid, which should be, I guess, a good compromise in this situation that we're in right now for this year.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out, what does a hybrid event look like for the person that's home? The way we had it in the past is our post-show video, you watched it there was a video camera in the back of the room. And if you bought like the post-show video, you kind of expect that. I mean, they zoom up and they get a good view of the speaker, but it's not always, I wouldn't call that an epic experience. You know what you're paying for. But if we're saying to people, we're going to have this amazing CMI event in person, and we're also going to have an epic experience virtually, I don't know what that looks like yet. We're just trying to figure out, can we have cameras closer to the stage, or just, I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know, because we're working hard on it, but it's just trying to figure out how can we make everyone happy in what we're doing. So, yeah.
Hey, Kathy, I'm kind of curious on that too. The amount of time, you guys must be putting into trying to research what the possibilities are, what it's going to take if it is a possibility. I can only imagine you've got to be going 24/7 at this point, trying to figure out what you're doing.
It's funny, all the time in March, when I was like, wow, things are just slowing for a second, we can catch our breath, and oh yeah, we're back. This week I'm like, ah.
So is that going to affect, other programs, not even Content Tech or Content Marketing World, but is that going to affect other programs you had planned later for this year? And then on top of that, once you actually get to Content Tech and possibly Content Marketing World, if it ends up not being in person, are you guys planning to have kind of like a war room or a place where at least locally, some of you guys may gather to do everything all in person in place, just to kind of operationally make sure things run as smooth as possible?
Right. So the first part of your question, we did change. So we had our Demand Gen Summit was scheduled for October. But in the spring, when a lot of our sponsors and tech partners they said, oh my gosh, we had all these events planned for the spring that all got canceled. We need leads. So we moved our Demand Gen Summit up for them, which was actually a really good financial decision for us, because sponsors were like, we want to be in there. We need these leads. And we ended up getting 3,000 people to come to it. And it was a free event. So we did that, and our social media one's going to be in the fall now. And we're thinking about, could we add a few of those other free events to be helpful, just to be there for people who really need it when they need it. And the second part of your question was about the war room. We're actually thinking about, since Informa owns us, we're trying to see, could we get some video space in the New York office, in the San Francisco office, and obviously somewhere here in Cleveland, where speakers could go, and we could just say, if your background is that mine, maybe I don't want people to be seeing. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not beautiful. It's not this beautiful office setup. If someone in Cleveland said, "Can I just go down there and do my session?" That we would have those spaces. And like you said, could the CMI team be in their meeting room during this, so we could be talking about what's going on throughout the week? So yes, we're trying to see if that's something feasible. However, we did talk to one of our speakers in Boston and said, if we did find a space in Boston, would you do it? He said, absolutely not. So again, it's like, we probably would need to do a quick poll with those folks to see if it's worth our time and money, making that space available to them. But we all have different opinions on what, some people are out and doing, thanks, Jessica, feeling different ways. So we just have to kind of respect everyone's where they are and where they are right now. I went totally off topic, but I went to an appointment this morning with my husband. It was at the Cleveland Clinic, and I waited in the car, and I went up and I'm like, can I come in here? I didn't even know what the rules are right now. So I was just trying to figure out what businesses, where they are at this point right now. And I know that'll keep changing. Hopefully we'll continue to improve.
Cathy, any idea what the networking would look like for virtual?
So we're talking about, like I said, we're talking about doing Zoom and doing some meeting rooms where we could either go in there talking about a certain discipline within content marketing, or if we have already established groups like our book club, could the book club go do something for a while? And that's like 30, 40 people versus the thousands. Could that group set something up? Our Twitter chat group, could a speaker or a sponsor try to set something up if they wanted to talk about something? Things like that, where we're trying to find these. I think we keep calling them birds of a feather. Like, is there something we could establish, find a platform where people could automatically go into something and talk to people. But yeah, I think, like I said, it needs to be so much more than a Zoom happy hour. Well, one, because 5 o'clock in Cleveland is 2 o'clock in California, and it's super late, in Europe. So just trying to figure all that out. And I know we'll never find that one thing that'll be perfect for everybody.
Well, I'm in California, but if I had to make 2 o'clock happy hour, I would.
You would? Okay, that is good to know.
I second that. So Cathy, you had one slide where you talked about your email marketing strategy. Have you, during the pandemic, have you picked up any interesting tactics that are different? I have one theory that I haven't validated, but I believe day of week and time of day is no longer as important when sending out an email. Like, have you discovered anything?
Well, I still don't like Mondays. I do know that. No, I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. So we send out our emails at 10 o'clock to our engaged subscribers and 1 o'clock to our unengaged, but it's like 10:04 or 10:12. It's not 10 o'clock because everyone sends their emails at 10 o'clock. So when someone goes through their big bulk delete, we come in next. But when we send the unengaged list later in the day, we usually get about a 3 to 4% re-engagement every single day. I don't know why there's a difference in morning versus afternoon. Or I guess those are Cleveland times, but I don't know. But our open rates and our clicks have actually gone up during all of this. So it's hard to say just because everyone's home and we have more time to spend in our emails, but nothing conclusive as far as that is concerned.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Just give it a few seconds just in case.
Oh, question.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hey, Carla.
Jump in there.
Carla.
Hi. I missed the first part of your presentation, so I don't know. I caught just what you said just now about Europe and Pacific Coast and time zones. And how are you? So are you having one event that crosses over for Europe and the US, or how are you? Because we're thinking about doing, like, repeating it to cover time zones.
For Content Tech, our August event, we're scheduling as of today, because things are changing. But we're planning on scheduling it between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
Because we think that is not crazy early for California, and it's not super late for the UK. So, and there's some, like our Australia friends, there's never a good time for everybody. But so we do have our blocked schedule of when things are scheduled to run, but everything is available on video, so they can watch it at their leisure. So even if someone is in California and can catch everything live when it's happening, they don't need to, because they'll have the access when they're able to dig into it. We don't expect anyone to sit through 3 straight days of sessions.
Sure.
Much easier in person than it is when you can open up your email or, go outside, go for a walk. So we try to accommodate as best we can, but it's not always perfect for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
But I like the idea of rerunning it.
So our company is in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing a virtual new building launch. And so we're trying to figure out how can we do this ribbon cutting ceremony live for every major time zone. We're just trying to get feedback on that.
Yeah. So would you do it live, or would you just rerun it?
Right now, that is what we're talking about doing. So, in the middle of the night, we'll probably have a few people up and having another ribbon and cutting it.
Make a great story.
Yeah, I think we'll have a team of people at the office. So, over in South Korea.
Well, think about when the Olympics are somewhere like across the world, right? They show it live, and if you stay up to watch it, you watch it. Otherwise, you watch it, later recorded.
That's true.
And you know who already won.
Yeah.
Don't turn on the news. Don't turn on the news. I want to see what happens.
Thank you.
So Carla, just out of curiosity, is that an internal facing ceremony or is it for an external audience?
External, yeah.
External, okay.
Our innovation center is opening a new building, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Good luck. Well, Cathy, thanks so much for joining us and sharing how you guys are navigating the current times. We're wishing you all the best. And as a active member of the community, we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, and we are here to support you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
All right.
All right, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for coming and be safe.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.